Yes.
All set?
Yes, sir.
Are you ready? Yes. Ready on the line. Okay.
Senior.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Newman City Council regular meeting, March 26, 2019. Would everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag and remain standing for the invocation. Ready to begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mark Cain is quoted as having said, "The first step towards success is taken when you refuse to be captive of the environment in which you first find yourself." Let's pray. Most gracious Father, thank you for this opportunity to serve our community. We pray your blessings on our community and on this gathering. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mary. Could we have roll call, please?
Councilmember McDonald?
Here.
Graham? Here. Mayor Pro Tem Candia? Day?
Here.
Mayor Martina?
Here. Okay. Declaration of conflict of interest?
None.
There being none tonight. And we'll move on to ceremonial matters. And we have Proclamation Library Week. So we can go up to the podium and we will present the... I don't know what I would do. One of the greatest assets we have in this city is the library.
Thank you.
And you're doing a wonderful job today. Anyway, this is a proclamation of the mayor of the city of Newman. Whereas reading and literacy and the freedom to explore information are cornerstone of free and democratic society. Whereas libraries have long served as trusted and treasured institutions where people of backgrounds can be together and connect. Whereas libraries are resources for all members of the community, regardless of race, ethnic, creed, abilities, sexual orientation, gender identity, or socioeconomic status, by offering services and educational resources that transform lives and strengthen communities. Whereas librarians promote civil engagement and empower their communities to make informed decisions by providing free and equitable access to information. Whereas libraries are not just about books, but what they do for and with people. Whereas libraries and librarians open a world of possibility through innovative programming and transformative services. Whereas libraries offer 24/7 access to library services through online resources such as e-book, e-magazines, downloadable audiobooks, music and movies, online language instruction, and research databases. Whereas library partners with parents and caregivers to empower children to enter kindergarten with the knowledge of skills necessary for success in schools and beyond. Whereas libraries continually grow and evolve in how they provide for these needs of every member of their community. Whereas libraries, librarians, library workers, volunteers, and supporters in Stanislaus County are celebrating National Library Week. Now, therefore, I, Bob Martina, Mayor of the City of Newman, do hereby proclaim April 7th through the 13th, 2019, as National Library Week in the City of Newman, and urge everyone to visit libraries and to take advantage of the wonderful resources they provide. Thank you so much. Would you like to say something?
Thank you. It's awesome that
No,
you...
we say thank you to you. Everyone in this city knows what a wonderful job you're doing, and all the young people that have been touched by you. It's a wonderful thing, but thank you so much.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
I'll display it. You guys can come down and visit.
Number 7 would be items from the public, non-agenda items. If anyone has anything they would like to present to the council, please go to the podium, state your name and address for the record. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now you get a chance to say something.
A lot of stuff. I had to bring notes today.
That's good.
Okay, where should I begin? Reminding everyone of our hours. So, Tuesdays, we're open from 12 to 8. So that's one of the reasons why I usually just rush out of here, so I can go back to the library and do closing procedures. But that is our only late night. It is helpful for families and parents who just can't be off and to the library by 5 o'clock. And we do a lot of programs on Tuesday for that reason as well. So we have time to clean up and everything while we still have staff members available, so we don't have to save it for before story time on Wednesdays. And then Wednesday through Saturdays, we are open 10 to 5. And Dia is coming up, as I mentioned before and always, and thank you for permission to use the park. I was able to plan out where we're going to have all of our crafts and activities and vendors and dancers and story time well before April 13th, so I'm prepared, mostly. Cover to cover, the In-N-Out reading for cheeseburgers is still going on until the 13th, so children up to age 12 still have time to get their reading logs turned in and get those free cheeseburgers. I'll just go over our normal calendar stuff. On Saturday, April 6th, we have the Activated Story Theater coming to visit us. They're doing 2 stories in English and ASL, American Sign Language, and they're hilarious. And the lady, Kimberly, she's incredibly flexible, and they do all sorts of random tricks. And then we have Dia on April 13th. And then we're going to have a visit from the Easter Bunny on Tuesday, April 16th. And we're going to have a little craft for the kids to make a basket to put their goodies in. Okay, and in May, I'm going to try something new out for the adults. We're going to do a paint day. You know how there's paint nights, like, the paint and wine nights? We're just doing the painting and no wine. If only we could do that. And so there are going to be signups for that. This is the first time I'll be doing it, so I'm a little nervous, but also very excited. I'm finally going to put my art degree to use, and we'll see how it turns out. And I think that's all I have for today.
Well, that's quite a bit.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Again, thanks for all you're doing at the
Yeah.
library.
Outstanding job. Thank you.
Anyone else would like to speak to the council? Being none, I will move on to item 8, which is consent calendar. A, waive all readings of ordinance and the resolution except by title. B, approval of warrants. C, approval of minutes of March 12th, 2019 meeting.
Move that we approve the consent calendar as read.
And I'll second that.
Motion is made and second. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. 4 yes and 1 absent. 9 is a public hearing. A, adopt resolution number 2019, next number, resolution declaring the existence of a public nuisance, an ordinance number 281, mistletoe abatement. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor. Mistletoe, as everyone here probably knows, is an evergreen parasitic plant, and it grows on a number of the trees across the valley. It reduces the growth in the trees, and it basically robs the tree of water and mineral nutrients and may kill them with heavy infestation, which on the road to death, the tree often becomes a safety hazard, and so we really want to make sure that we have a handle on mistletoe. So annually we go and do a survey when there's no leaves on the trees, and we identify mistletoe in any tree that's within the city limits, including city trees. We remove the mistletoe in the city trees, but privately owned trees, we send a notice out. We sent out notices to 75 properties in January, and then in March There were 28 properties that were served with certified letters to remove it, that those had not complied as of March 8th. And then a final compliance survey was done today, and we are down to 18, I believe. 18 properties that have not removed their mistletoe yet. We did go out and get 3 different quotes to find out how much it would cost to remove it, to abate this nuisance. And so we sent those certified letters where they would know what the cost, if they had us remove it, our contractor. And some people choose to do that because it's the easiest way to do it. And some people will comply now in the next few days, and we'll take them off the list and not have the contractor do it. But we would like to abate this nuisance and protect our trees. And I'll take any questions.
At what point does the mistletoe become pollinated or flowered or whatever?
Spreadable.
So that the seeds spread?
Basically, the birds eat it, and then their feces spreads it, and it's a parasite, and so it doesn't take much for it to get a hold of a new branch that a bird may defecate on, and then it starts growing like a fungus, and then it becomes that plant. And
So are the seeds on it all the time?
it does give a little seed ball, and then it blooms, gives a little seed ball, but any part of the plant, is my understanding, can spread the mistletoe.
Oh, I see.
And if you look along rivers in the Central Valley, they're just infested, and so it's hard to keep control of it. You can cut it out, and that's the best eradication, and then hope that it doesn't come back. But if you don't get it all, it'll definitely come back, and some trees just get it every year, and you have to just keep cutting it out, but it prevents it from really getting a foothold on the tree and just overpowering it.
I have a question. How do those trees get there? Were those trees grown by the owner, or were those trees put in by the city?
Those trees were put there by the owner.
Owner
They may
or
have been,
developer?
some of the trees may have been planted during a subdivision build, and so they may have been put in by the developer, but they become the property owner's tree. City trees are generally the trees that are between the sidewalk and the curb and gutter. Those were planted by the city or planted by someone on behalf of the city, and that we are responsible for
Because
those.
I'm pretty sure that you probably got feedback from some of the owners that they didn't plant the trees, or, you know, their concern is whether or not the city had the responsibility to maintain those.
We have heard multiple questions and inquiries about, first of all, what mistletoe is. A lot of people don't know what it is. And then we go out personally, some public works staff will go out and show them exactly what the mistletoe is. Then we can take those questions. If they're concerned about who owns the tree, we have a pretty good idea of who owns the tree. We know which are city trees that we take care of, and we know that's a private tree. We include even backyards, which sometimes can be difficult to access for the tree removal companies, but they have skills and equipment that allow them to do it. But every tree in the city should have their mistletoe removed.
So do we have an ordinance now that states that those trees cannot be grown here in the city of Newman?
It doesn't, you can't, we don't go by variety of tree. We have a code that says that mistletoe can be abated, and we can require property owners to remove the mistletoe. Trees, some are more susceptible than others, and if people ask us, we can look that up for them and say, don't plant this tree, it's more susceptible to mistletoe, because there is some science behind what trees mistletoe likes.
Right. So that means that the developers that come in here, they're aware of this so-called enemy tree that we are fighting against.
So when a developer comes in, they submit a landscape plan, and then we would have basically the duty to review that plan, and then we get to basically call out what trees we want as staff, and we all sit down and discuss what trees do we want this neighborhood to have, and what variety where in the yard will they be planted, and so we have pretty good control of that.
But you
You're
have to
welcome.
understand, mistletoe is a parasite. It can go to any tree by, whether it was planted by the city or anybody else. So the fact that the landowner planted the tree doesn't matter if the mistletoe's in it, it's gotta be taken out.
And we work closely with the property owners that are affected and try to get them to comply before we get to the abatement point. But like I said, some of the residents want us to do this part because it's the easiest thing for them to do. They don't have to call a bunch of tree companies and negotiate with them. And so some just want us to take this route. Some just procrastinate and get to this point and they'll hurry in tomorrow and say, I swear I'm going to remove it. And we'll work with all the residents. Our goal is just to get the mistletoe removed.
Right.
Catherine, I had a question. Are we winning the battle as far over the number of years we've had this program going on? Are we gaining on it? Are we losing ground, or what would
We're
you say?
gaining ground by the fact that if you look at the trees, next time anybody drives by a water body, the river, and you look at the trees along the river and see
Yeah.
the mistletoe,
Right.
the dark green that's there in the winter when the leaves are gone, that's mistletoe. That's what our trees would look like. And then the branches get weak, they start falling on property, we start having property damage. And so I say we're very much gaining on the problem, just by being diligent and doing it every year.
Well, thank you for your expertise.
You're welcome.
And with that, this is a public hearing, so I'm going to open it up to anyone that would like to speak to the council in the audience. There being none, I'm going to bring it back to the council for direction.
I move for adoption of resolution number 2019, next in number, a resolution declaring the existence of a public nuisance under ordinance number 281, mistletoe abatement, as noted on the final list for mistletoe abatement 2019, items number 1 through 18.
Second that.
Okay, motion's been made and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried 4 yes and 1 absent.
Thank you.
Thank you so much,
You're welcome.
Catherine. We'll go to 10, which is regular business. A, report on potential ordinance amendment of Title II, boards and commissions.
Thank you, Mayor. So staff on all different levels, all the different departments are looking at their current codes, and so one of the items I came across was Title II, which is boards and commissions. We actually have 2 boards or commissions that are on there that may have run their life, and so I want to get your guidance on them to decide whether or not you want us to bring those forward for either modification and or elimination. The first one's called the Industrial Development Board. That was back a while ago. It was on when I got here in '03. It was active. It's an advisory board, kind of a fact-finding board, and it muddled around for a couple of years when I first got here, but then it just kind of fell apart. The board members weren't coming to meetings, and so it just kind of fell to the wayside. In the meantime, though, EDAC, the Economic Advisory Administrative Council, which Councilmember McDonald is a member. We have Opportunity Stanislaus now. So we have these now industrial economic development boards that we're a part of on a countywide basis that are trying to do things on a countywide basis and provide statistics and demographics and some of the things and research to help local agencies attract business. So it's almost a duplicate matter. We're doing that more on a countywide basis now as opposed to an individual basis. So my thought was that we may not need that Industrial Development Commission anymore. So want to get your thoughts on that, maybe have a conversation on that.
Is that something we'd need for the Northwest Quadrant as that starts to develop?
Well, we could, but again, I think more of that's going to happen. You know, we're going to use Opportunity Stanislaus. You know, they're the economic development engine. They're going to help go out to places and advertise our location and start talking about our project and do some of that for us. They'll also provide us demographics and do some of the stuff out there that would help us to attract businesses in here. much more so than we could probably do ourselves. The challenge is, we have small staffing on there now, and they now have, Opportunity Stanislaus, they have full-time staff that are paid to do all of this. In fact, I just got a call from Chase Condit, who is now working for them, or Chance Condit, I'm sorry, who now works for them. Same kind of thing. Dave works on there too. So they do a lot of that stuff already, and they have trained staff. So I see it as they're providing that to us.
Okay.
So you're saying it's been at least 10 to 12 years since this has been effective?
It's been 10 or 12 years since the last time that the group even met. So
I would suggest that kind of staff look at it for elimination.
I agree. Second.
the second one was, and this one's a little bit different, but it's moving into Parks and Rec, the Parks and Rec Commission. And so, that one, we've always had a hard time getting people to sit on it, and we've always had a hard time, and just even getting quorum sometimes, or even having items come before them. And so when you don't have regularly scheduled meetings, the board members kind of like, is it even worth my time? And they don't know if there's a meeting this month versus last month, and it just becomes a challenge on there. And also, when the Parks and Rec Commission really was probably originated, it was at a time when we didn't have paid recreation staff. So a lot of the time, the council member or Parks and Rec crew would go out, commission would help run the programs, the baseball program or the soccer programs, or some of those things on there too. So now that we have, with our public works, or our Parks and Rec gal, Allie, who's a full-time employee for the city now, we actually have 3 part-time staff members in the rec department. So all total, we're about 3,500, 4,000 hours dedicated to just parks and recreation out there. So again, we're just thinking that maybe that one has run its course. Also, when you think about it, when this council was really looking at the aquatic center, what did we do? We appointed a subcommittee, right?
Right.
And we asked full members of the public, who wants to participate, and you came and participate. At a point in time when the council decides we're going to look at that again, or we're going to look at other issues, I could see you doing the same thing, just getting a subcommittee of your council and appointing public members to come out and really do an in-depth look at this, really be focused on these individual type of programs or parks or development of something over there. That seemed to work when you did it last time with the aquatic center, and so I could see that kind of methodology and mechanism moving forward, and kind of serving, if we had something that really needed it, it could go to the planning commission and then ultimately back to you, the council. Parks and Rec Commission was only an advisory committee anyways, they only advised you of that. So we can still do that when you have big projects, maybe a design of a park or something that's going to be coming up for like Northwest Quadrant. At some point in time, we're going to come to you with the design of parks. Maybe we open it up to the whole community to help them look at that instead of just a commission of 5 people. So I just would like to get your feedback on that as well. So our idea would be just to go ahead and eliminate the Parks and Rec Commission. And then again, when projects come about, you as a council put a call out. We'll advertise. We'll ask people to volunteer to work on that specific project. And whether, again, it's aquatic center or maybe it's the design of the first park that's going to go out there. There's a sports complex out in Northwest Quadrant. We could get people more of a community-wide perspective and start having some design charrettes and like that, and get the whole community involved. So that would be my recommendation on how to go forward. But I didn't want to go down that path without having this conversation with you first.
That makes sense, Michael, to me. I don't know how the other.
Makes sense to me.
Okay. Excellent. Okay, so in the next couple months, we'll be bringing those back to you. We still have some other things. I know I've worked with the chief a little bit. There's a disaster council on there as well. We need to just update that a little bit, but it'll stay in place. And then there's things throughout our entire municipal code that we're going to be bringing to you as well. So.
Well, that's one way of getting the community involved in terms of different committees, community committees put together, in terms of certain projects that may come. down the pipeline. Their participation, I think, is very important, and that's one way of getting them involved.
Yeah, and Councilmember, you're exactly right. And, all people's interests are different. So there may be this project A they want to work on, but project B not so much. So, it may bring them out instead of them they have to look at both of them. They could give, 6 months, a couple meetings over 6 months and really put their time into it and feel like they participated.
Right.
So, thank you for your comments.
Are there any others that you've found that might be outdated?
But those are the only two right now that I really wanted to bring before you. But as our planner and the rest of our staff look through this stuff, we'll continue to bring stuff back to you, or consolidate that all into one big ordinance amendment that we'll bring back to you at a later date.
What about the oversight committee?
Well, that's redevelopment. That wrapped itself up. That's under state rule anyways.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
that's not a local ordinance.
Right.
That's under state law.
All right. Just off the top of my head,
Sure.
trying to remember.
Sure enough.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Michael. Item B is report on Singh Memorial at the Police Department.
Thank you. So we were contacted in late February by Representative Saputo, and they wanted to do a memorial to honor Corporal Ronald Singh. So with that, I knew you had a public safety committee, so I asked Councilmember Graham and Councilmember Candia to kind of sit in on that meeting, as there's your public safety subcommittee, and then get their input so we can bring it back to you and have a conversation on this. So again, Saputo has stepped forward and would like to do a small memorial out there for Corporal Ronald Singh. So just kind of move forward. So right now, this is the one that's currently out there, and this is for TJ, Tony Gonzalez, that's out there. This young man was an explorer in our police department and gave his life in service while he was in Iraq. And so we have this memorial out there for him now. So what they're thinking is they would like to mirror this kind of honor, this memorial that we have for TJ out there, and do one for Corporal Singh. So we would do a brick and then do kind of a surface a plaque over here on the top. This is just kind of side angle over here, just kind of showing the height and the dimensions of it. So as you can see, if you're looking at the face of the police department as you're walking up, the one for TJ is on the left-hand side. What we would anticipate is possibly bringing one over here on the right-hand side, kind of about the same distance in, and then kind of balance that out and do the same type of tribute to Corporal Singh on there as well. So again, we would just it would serve in this area here. Probably we would, this pole is not serving right now, so we'd probably remove that pole and kind of clean up the site a little bit on there as well. And this is kind of a Google Earth, so again, you would put this over on the side. So we wanted you as the council to have a full conversation about this. I know Councilmember Graham can talk a little bit about it because he was at that meeting. You were also presented a picture today. It has a police officer and a canine there. These are the small little statuettes, bronze statues that are out there, but the man is about 6 inches tall. And then the canine is probably about half that. So the canine comes in different types of animals. They can do the Labrador, that would be Samantha. And they can do a little bit of customization to the figure to help it look like Corporal Singh a little bit more, although it wouldn't be a match. And what they're proposing is then they would probably, we talked about, I'm assuming we would back this, see how this is flat and it's kind of at an angle? We would have to do another layer of bricks here that was flat and then bring that straight down, and then the statues would sit up on that on top, is what they're proposing. So with that, I'm going to ask Councilmember Graham if he had anything he wanted to offer on this.
Yeah, they came to us and offered, that they wanted to do this project, that they have the they've been doing some research on it, and the statue, they said the bronze statue, it's a bronze statue, they can customize the dog and the badge that's on their face down, and also the emblems on the uniform and that they can do some customization to it. It would be bronze. The only concern that I had of it is, I don't know what the strength of it is, if it would get damaged. That's my only biggest concern, somebody come along and try to pull on it. Other than that, I think it's a great idea, and I appreciate them wanting to do this for our community.
I think it's great.
So it was a brief meeting, real good. Do you guys, I mean, is there anything that Mike or I could answer for you guys on? That's basically what they brought to us, matching this, but with the little statue up on top, like Michael was saying.
Would there be a plaque too?
Yeah,
There would be a plaque, and we'd have to work out all the wording, a plaque and an image matching the one for TJ.
Mm-hmm.
There would be similar to for Corporal Singh.
Yeah, it'd be mirrored of, basically they had mentioned it would be mirrored of this, but for Singh, and then it would have this on top of it.
So I think we appreciate Saputo coming forward. We just had Councilmember Graham and I talked a little bit, and Councilmember Candia as well. We just had a little bit of concern about the statue because we weren't sure of the strength and how it's said, if it was someone going to try to knock that off or damage it, and then also because it's not an exact match, how does it look? You know, one versus the other, because you have to change the structure just a little bit by having another layer of brick on the back that kind of levels it out. So it's just, there's a slight difference on there, and so we didn't know what.
We are considering another memorial on the corner over here for fire and police and that kind of thing. Would it be more appropriate maybe for the statue to?
We'd actually talked, you know, and that all has to play out with time on the way things go, but possibly a bigger statue for Singh, or a bigger memorial for him over there. This is more of a smaller one that the company is offering to fully fund and put out there on their own. But yeah, we had, out here on this lawn right here, we had talked about, you know, a full service for all the services with the American flag and a variety of different things to honor them, and Corporal Singh too. And my original thought was I'd like for it to be in the plaza area, because not a lot of people that aren't in the city visit the police department because they have no need to, but they come to the plaza for different events. So the plaza's ultimate goal is, in my mind, of where we'd want something to honor him more fully, but this is more to honor him in front of the police department, and it's smaller in overall planning, I guess.
Would the statue with the figurine and the dog and all of that, would that be mounted on a plate?
Yeah, the way I look at it, if you can see the picture, it looks like it's a plate that would mount on top of that.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's a bronze plate with them on top of it. And then, like Michael said, there, from what this height is, they said he's about 6 inches tall. So it's not huge, but it's just a small figurine, I guess you could say.
And we did, so just long and short also, you know, one of the reasons we're looking at this is we don't anticipate that the location of the police department will change anytime soon. We've had some conversations with the chief a little bit. There may be a point in time where the administrative staff, the chief and the lieutenant, and maybe some of the support staff move across the street to the old city hall, and then this all can be reconfigured and serve more for the officers and the duty officers and sergeants and corporals. At such time, we needed the more space. So doing this type of memorial for Corporal Singh here would never have to be relocated. We think in the long term, the police department will be here as part of that. And then I also talked to, and the chief fully supports and liked this concept and idea that what Saputo brought forward.
If the figurine is only about this tall, don't know, what's your assessment of the risk of damage to it by vandalism?
You know, I don't know as far as how it would actually be mounted, if there's pegs or anything that would be mounted down into the brick, if it was just on the backside of the brick. It could. We would hope it would not be damaged, but yeah, it could.
Well, any figurine could be
This
damaged.
other monument here was made out of a supply of the original Orstema High School bricks that I don't know if are still available or not. That's where those came from. That used to be where a post office box used to sit in that location, so that has a cement pad under it where it did at one time. But yeah, those bricks were very old bricks, so if we use those same type of bricks, I don't know how strong they would be, or if we even have any more of those bricks.
Michael, Chief Bowen here actually just kind of talked to me on the side and put out a good little idea. If they seemed like they wanted to do the little statue. They were really kind of liking that. On the front of this, what if that was indented a little bit with a window where it sat inside there?
Just set into the very front of it.
Very front of it. And we can even backlight it possibly somehow. Just another option.
Yeah. And, you know,
Then it would be somewhat protected.
yeah, you know, depending on council's direction here today, we can always go back with Councilmember Graham, Councilmember Candia, and kind of fine tune the final design and concept. If we just want to get the full council's consideration on this before we get too far down the road. And so, we're looking for your input, and then if you want to tell us, yeah, we like those things, go back and work with Saputo, then, you know, we can schedule more meetings with Councilmember Graham and Councilmember Candia and Saputo and work on some finalized plans on there and, you know, get the chief involved. And
I think it's a good idea simply because we have one of our major businesses in this city that is stepping up to do this type of memorial for a fallen officer. So I think it's a fantastic idea. And whatever way we go as a council, you know, I think it's a good idea.
I agree. I think it's a good idea. I'd like to see a little more.
Fine tuning.
Yeah, a little more of how it's going to be done. But I think it's a great idea. I appreciate Saputo stepping forward, and I agree with Councilmember that it's great that a business in our community is doing that.
Yeah.
So I would suggest we go ahead and have Saputo look at some ways maybe to protect the figurine, as, you know, maybe the inset or some other kind of arrangement.
Michael, you know, maybe it's not a good time to talk about it, but, you know, they have a makeshift memorial over where the incident occurred. So I don't know, we had talked briefly about possibly something being done in that area. I don't know if it's going to continue the way it is. It has a flag flying there. Is that going to continue as just being a makeshift, or is it going to be something that's going to be more permanent?
right now, it's just the community continuing to participate in
Okay.
and to bring that. We haven't really addressed that.
And I had mentioned if we could put a blue light out there or something lighted up, maybe something a little bit permanent with a little plaque or something. I don't know,
It's
maybe
just-
we even could put a city flagpole there.
It's something that's probably going to continue because, you know, when people start something like that, they just stay there forever.
Yeah. Yeah, and then that could be the next conversation we have, is
Yeah.
what to do there. And then, and I'll just plant the seed now, we should probably, maybe, early this summer, June or so, we can start having conversations about, throwing ideas out about our plaza long-term, that takes a while to get that whole thing going, but we should, I would say, May, June, July, at least start having some conversations. Again, that could be an opportunity for you to, put together some ideas, ask the public to participate as part of it. What would they like to see out there? And then kind of have that conversation.
Have the officers participated? Because I would think that it's something that they should be involved in. I mean,
Well, we wanted to make sure that we had your support
Right, I
before we
understand.
went too far into that. So
Yeah.
the chief is aware of it. He's aware of the design. He liked the design. Now that we kind of more have the full council
Yep.
endorsement of it, we'll work more closely with the PD to get it on there. But I didn't want to get ahead of you guys And I wanted to make sure that you were supportive of what you saw out there and thought that it was an appropriate first step in doing this, so.
Appreciate that.
Great. We're all on the same page, I'm sure.
All in favor for it?
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, there's no action required, just information. Okay, we're going to move on to item 11. District 5 Stanislaus Supervisor, Mr. Jim D. Martini.
Good evening, Mayor Martina, members of the council. Not a real lot for you this week. It's not a lot going on at the county right now. Last week it was busy, but this week it isn't. We spent a good part of our time last week on marijuana grower applications, which I think you wisely chose not to have that here in Newman. Save yourself a lot of grief. But anyway, nothing else new on the Crow's Landing Air Base. I expect the RFP for the storm drainage will probably be going out soon. As far as I could be as early as next week. But this is for engineering firms to reply to the design of the storm drain and some of the roads. That I don't know for sure, but it's long overdue, and I think it'll be for sure this next month. As I told you the last time I was here, we had the strategic planning meeting for the healthcare task force. That was actually just 2 weeks ago today. And that meeting just went real well. So we had our regular meeting in Gustine just this last Thursday, the 21st. So we're trying to implement some of the things that came up at the strategic plan. So we're going to try and put together our first teen program, which would be a suicide prevention program. We would most likely do that in conjunction with Gustine School District, who is trying to put that together also. So we'll partner on with them. And then there's some other things like updating our website, doing another senior program. This one focusing more on senior nutrition rather than senior abuse issues. And then we have decided to update our physicians directory for the West Side. Those, they do get out of date from, after a few years, so we're going to redo that. Should have that up in a couple of months. So it'll be a nice thing that you can give out at City Hall for anybody who wants one, or somebody new moving into town. It'll give you all the locations of the clinics and what they do. The last one didn't say what they specialized in. This one will. So anyway, and our next meeting at the task force is April 25th. And I also, one last thing, I still need, I have not filled the Veterans Commission member for the West Side. We had a resignation on it there, so I'm still looking for somebody. You need to be a veteran, though, if you're interested, or if you know somebody who's interested in being on that commission who is a veteran. There's an opening for District 5.
Jim, can you just fill us in on how many times they meet and at what general hours, the commission, the Veterans Commission?
Oh, they just meet once a month, and they rotate. They actually meet in Newman at least once a year, and they meet in every city. So
Is it an evening meeting or a daytime?
It's evening.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the evening. I've been to a few of them before, and I think they meet about 6 o'clock in the evening, once a month. And of course, they do other programs too. I mean, it's not, as you know, the city council, you don't just come here for the meetings there. There's other stuff that, you got to do for committees and stuff too. But as far as a public meeting, it's once a month. And then, of course, we expect you to be active on it and do stuff for the veterans. But I am looking to fill that vacancy, and it must come from the, District 5. So anybody's interested, must be a veteran's the only thing that we ask.
They can get hold of you.
Yeah, just call my office there, and then we'll send you an application. You have to fill out an application. It's really my appointment, but it has to be approved by the board. It's usually, in fact, it's always been a consent agenda item. But there's a formal process to it, but I'm really the one who makes the decision on it. Okay, that's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Jim.
much, Jim. With that, we're going to move on to item 12, items from the city manager and staff.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Just want to remind everybody, leaf brush ends on Sunday. Don't put anything out on Monday. You'll get cited. Last day is Sunday for curbside leaf brush.
Sunday?
Sunday. But, starting Monday, we have cleanup week. So, if you want to, on Monday, you can take it down to Berlotti's and drop it off there. So anyways,
Oh, you got
leaf brush ends on Sunday, March 31st. And then we have our city cleanup
It starts
drop off,
first.
and that is April 1st through April 6th.
We just take it over to the yard, right?
So,
That's where you take it over to the yard from the 1st through the 6th. Give you a chance to clean up that garage. If you got any snakes in your garage or anything, you can just take them on down there.
are you talking about my garage?
Mayor, currently we have 2 jobs that we're currently recruiting for. One would be a senior maintenance worker. Mr. Dan Pardo retired after 30 years with the city.
Wow.
His last day was last Friday, working, and then he's off for a couple days, and then I think his last official day is March 30th. And then we're continuing to recruit for a police officer. So with that, I can answer any questions that you may have.
Is that position for the streets cleaner? Is it-
No, the street sweeper is a different position. We are actually, that one's, the application process is closed, and we are conducting interviews for that job on Thursday, this Thursday.
Did you get an interview time?
So, any more questions? Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
I have
Anything?
nothing to share tonight. But
Ally wants to
Ally
talk.
wants, I'm sorry, Ally.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't have, they don't put you on here, honey.
It's okay.
But
I'm
that's
here.
okay, and they should, because you're very important.
Oh, thank you. Mayor, council members. Just to touch on what's going on for recreation and community liaison. We have postponed our 5v5 soccer tournament backed up to October after soccer season. I feel we'll get more throughput of teams and just a variety of players out there. We have baseball going on right now, so pushed back to October postseason of soccer. Fit Kids Camp, you all have a flyer in front of you, is around the corner. We're accepting applications April 1st. Only 125 children will be accepted into Fit Kids. It takes place Tuesday and Thursday throughout June from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. Recreation also will be part of the Fall Festival this year. We are leading the Kids Zone this year. The whole weekend we will be participating and leading it with other clubs that might want to help in our place as well. So we'll accept all the clubs and organizations that want to come in and support us in providing kids with crafts and activities throughout that time. On the community liaison side, for Newman Together, it's around the corner next month, April 27th, 2018. As of right now, we have a total of about 30 booths signed up to participate. One car show from the West Side Auto Club. Entertainment, Level Up Studio, and Powers is also coming out to help. We have a couple of singers and a few shows in between. We will be providing free hot dogs and kids activities as well. Starting tomorrow, we start planning for farmers markets, which will be Friday afternoons. That's set in stone now. Friday afternoons, the month of June, from 4 to 8 p.m. And I'll come back with more feedback regarding the farmers markets. We also are working on Beautify Newman, but I'll let my coworker Catherine here speak on that regard. Any questions?
No, outstanding job.
Thank you.
It's nice to see all this stuff happening.
Thank you.
Thank
That's
you
what
very
hap-
much.
That's what happens with a growing city. You know, we start to have lots of activities. That's great.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
you so much. And with that, Lieutenant Short, you
Nothing tonight.
second chance.
I know, still nothing.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, Lou,
Don't
say
be sorry.
Lou, go
We're
ahead. Say
glad.
it.
Treasurer's reports for the month of February were distributed. City staff's been working on the budget for the 1920 fiscal year.
We should have all the reports back from the different departments by the end of the week, and then we'll start compiling that. We plan on having our budget workshop in June, and give you the opportunity to review the budget before you pass it.
Thank you. Any questions for Lou? No. Catherine?
Let's start with Beautify Newman. And I really want to thank Ally because she's being too modest. She's instrumental in getting this project going and helping me get it done. What we're going to do is on April 3rd from 9 a.m. to noon and April 6th, which is a Saturday, from 10 to 2, we're going to replant all the planters on the Main Street strip. We've already received donations to purchase the plants, and we're sending out a letter asking for more donations so we can make it a semi-annual thing where we replace flowers and keep them fresh and keep them looking beautiful. And so that's on task. We're going to serve light refreshments or just snacks and waters for any volunteers that come out. So if you come out either day, both days, you know somebody that you just want to send down to us, we'll put them to work. Public Works is just getting the pots ready, so we'll have a clean canvas. We're going to put some nice new plants in and just beautify Newman downtown. They're also going to be retying. On Saturday, we're going to be retying and replacing all of the blue ribbons that we have through the downtown area and as far out as we can get. So come out and help do that. And then we're also going to try to hit any tree rings if we can, so we can get those ready to maybe put some more of those asparagus ferns in. And so just it'll be a fun day, get everybody down there, get your hands in some dirt in the spring. I don't know about everybody else, but I have spring fever, so let's do it. Another update is CMAC. The project for the striping, kind of finishing the Measure L project that we did, is finally under construction. They're in town. You'll see maybe some alternative traffic things going on. They should be notifying residents that are in the area. There'll be some new sidewalks going in on Merced, and then also some stripe to finish all the bicycle striping, bike lane striping. So that's going to be going on for the next 30 days or so. Well 6 is done. It's drilled. We've got the pump installed. We were able to use the old equipment, so that's a $100,000 savings or better. We pulled preliminary samples. They're going to meet state standards, so we're going to be under levels of everything that we were always worried about. So now we're just going to relocate the electricity over and pull our Title 22 and make sure that we get it all permitted through the state, and then we'll get it into the system. We're still on track to have that done by the end of April. We'll have that well active and into the system before we start ramping up irrigation. Nice. Well 10, they're at 240 feet today as of 4 o'clock. And so that will they'll be drilling through tomorrow. And then once they have the 530 feet, then they'll start pulling zonal samplings so they can test the water that's coming out of every zone. We find the best water, we know where to set the bowls. So when that'll go into the bid package to build that well out completely. So that project is on track. And that's all I got.
Well 6, do you anticipate how many gallons per minute when it goes online?
We expect to run it at 1,000 gallons per minute, but it's designed to do 1,200, but we don't run it at the full 100% capacity.
Makes sense.
We did get it up to 2,500 though during testing, so that's awesome.
Wow.
That's great.
So you say you have spring fever?
I do have spring fever.
Gosh, I got some work at home. I just can't get.
I'll send my husband.
Can't get more to do it.
Okay, thank you, Catherine. Any
Thank you,
questions for the
You're
young
welcome.
lady? No question. Keith? Good evening, Chief.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. A few things. First, a blood drive tomorrow. So I don't know if you guys register or not, but you'll see a bunch of cars out there giving blood. So come by and donate if you can. Second, I'll be attending an EMT Train the Trainer course. I don't know if you guys know or not, but a few of your fire department members are emergency medical technicians. This training will allow them an expanded scope, so they'll be able to do a few more things. So this is great for our city, so we'll get those guys trained up and add some new treatments and stuff. So that's a good thing to know. And then Easter breakfast, the Newman Firefighters Association will be having their annual Easter breakfast Sunday. The 21st from 7 a.m. to noon. It will be at the Newman Fire Station. They'll have takeouts available. They'll have their pancakes, sausage, eggs, coffee like normal. $10 for an adult, $5 for a child under 10. So if you need tickets, you can see me or any of your local firefighters. They have been going around knocking on some doors, so if you see them there, introduce yourself, say hi. They'll have their uniform shirts on and whatnot, so you guys know who they are. Other than that, I don't have anything else, unless you guys got questions for me.
What about senior citizens?
Senior citizens, $10, best price.
Special for you.
Keith,
We treat everyone equally, unless you're under 10.
Keith,
and it's
real
$5.
quick, as the snow melts, should we be concerned about any flooding, minor flooding or anything like that?
No, they've been letting water out of the reservoirs and stuff. I don't think we're anticipating any flooding. We hit monitor staging a few times this year, but I think we're going to be all right. We are anticipating light precipitation over the next few days, but I don't think it's going to be too heavy in our area. It's going to be more up north and into the mountains.
Thank you. With that, Casey,
I got nothing tonight.
LeBroy?
I have nothing.
I'm good tonight.
I'm good also, but I'd just like to thank the audience for coming. There's not a whole lot out there, but we appreciate it, and thank you so much, and have a wonderful evening. With that, I'll ask for adjournment.
So moved. Second?
We are adjourned.